Yeah, what's that called?
All right, and we are live on YouTube.
And it came from you, so it would be like your email,
What are you talking about for the,
anything for the Google Drive.
you know what, I can resend you the link.
I know I have. But
Right,
Like
I
you,
don't-
like you said, I need to start it, so then I'm not a tech person, but I am recently learning about the starring things
Come
and.
on, is it hj@gmail? I don't want to say your whole email
Yeah.
out loud. Okay, I'm sending it to you right now. And that'll give you access to the whole budget folder, which lets you, and it's broken up by, it actually goes back to 21 now. So if you're ever really not able to sleep and you want a little light reading, you can go and look at budgets for the last 7 years.
Sure.
It's got an entertaining aspects to it. It does.
It's not like paint drying on a wall.
If you want, I've got electronic forms of budgets going back to like 2008.
Oh, see, there you go.
With a gap in there for a while. It's like,
He's gonna help you out more than me. I don't see Sheena online yet, but it is 7:30.
And there are 3 of
Oh,
us.
sorry. To say, I don't see Sheena online yet, but it is 7:31. We are ready to go and you will form whenever you would like.
right,
I'll keep an eye out for her online.
call to order Berlin Finance Committee. Open session public meetings are subject to being recorded. Your image and voice will be recorded. All right, let's start with our usual opening business, last week's minutes. I know Heidi sent out.
I move to approve the minutes from February 4th, 2026.
I'll second that motion.
All right, any other discussion on them? Look good.
They look
Yeah.
good.
Roll call, Scott, aye.
Mary, I.
And still nothing from Sheena online.
Not yet. Nope, I'm watching them.
Okay, so minutes
Sheena, it's not on yet.
approved
Yeah.
3-0. I always like to say 4-0 when there's nobody dissenting, but
I'm sure you guys are, Scott, you're able to see this. Is that like too close?
good for me.
I think it's good. Is
Nicely
it,
done.
you're
Nicely done,
closest to it, is
Kristen.
it too close for you?
For me, I won't look at it. So
You
no,
look
I'm
at your
good.
screen.
I do. Thank you.
I guess the only other business we can just add in here, this is the Central Massachusetts Mosquito Control Project, and they gave us our assessment. I'm assuming you already have this.
I do, and I confirmed that it matches what I have in the draft budget.
So. Was it Berlin's share is 1.33%. Total assessment 44,409.
44,000 in mosquito control, huh?
Yes.
I keep those pesky flies away.
I don't know, I still get bit when I go outside.
Well, they don't
They want to
do
look at,
the spraying everywhere every year. They figure out where the concentrations are, and then we get the notice that there's gonna be a flyover or whatever, or not a flyover, a trip. It's not usually a flyover, like they're gonna go in certain parts.
Yep.
Usually where it's wet.
I can tell them where it is. The old abandoned railroad tracks behind me are all in the swamp.
There you
So-
go.
I don't know if my home is still, the previous owner had excluded his home from the from it. I never did anything to add myself. I don't know if it's automatically removed, but they always had to be careful of, they could never do my property. He was an environmental guy, so he didn't want the
Oh, yeah, sure.
no, the pesticides and that, considering I've got a lot of wetlands, that's,
Ah,
but nobody can touch that area.
you see, June, did I move that too far away from you? Okay. Let's check in. This is my last one. Okay, so we did say 740 for CPAC, so that is probably why they're not quite here yet.
Do we need to vote on approving payment of that or no, because it was in the budget?
So that comes automatically from state aid. So that's the cherry sheet where they give us money and then they take it away on the back side of the cherry sheet. So the mosquito control comes off of our state aid as a charge.
Oh.
Or an assessment, if you will. Oh, there's Sheena.
We will.
Sorry, Sheena. Thank
We
you
will
for
not
texting
see
me.
that money.
No.
It bypasses us.
We don't really pay, I mean, we pay it, but we, you know,
We don't really. have
we don't pay it.
We don't do cats.
Why can't I promote her?
So
Sorry.
it's paid with state aid.
It's like payroll
Correct.
tax comes out before it gets to your bank account.
All right, Sheena, I just promoted you. Sorry about that. I got distracted and missed you.
Do you have to click allow to talk?
Nope, I
No.
promoted her to panelist. I think the
Hey,
view
Kim.
is.
Worcester
There we go.
Worcester gets more mosquito help than anybody else.
Hi,
Hello.
Sheena.
Hi,
We can see you, we can hear you.
okay, good.
Excellent. All right.
All right. So anything else? We'll just start with CPAC or with the community preservation.
We can, just, I wanted to say one thing before I forget. The select board has appointed an interim town administrator. They did Monday night. His name is Jeff Nutting. He was he's been in local government since 1976. Won't tell you where I was then. But he worked for the town of Franklin for 18 years as the town manager. And he has done 19 interim gigs over the course of his career. So he knows a thing or two. I am very confident that you will all be in good hands. We actually had a briefing sort of handoff meeting today because he will be starting March 2nd. So I will be done March 1st. It is a week earlier than expected. He was available and wanted to hit the ground running earlier, which I thought made sense in the middle of budget season because he's away the second week of March. So otherwise he wouldn't have started till the third week of March. And that's getting really close to town
Sure.
meeting time. So
First name again?
Jeff.
Jeff, thank you.
Any relation to the nutting name from here in Berlin?
My next question.
I don't know. He lives not in Berlin. I won't say
Okay.
where he lives, but I
Right.
have no idea.
Okay.
So not sure.
Because that's a last name in Berlin.
I haven't
History.
heard that one. I didn't know about that one. I know the Wheelers and the Sawyers.
Edie Brewer was nutting, right? Do I had that right?
She
I think so.
Yeah,
Sawyer. I
think so.
Okay, so see,
there you go.
And the
so
property next
Kim is
door to my
nodding
home
yes,
on Derby
it was.
Road was a nutting property prior to Sawyer purchasing it.
okay, you will have to ask him. And I expect he will be here that first week of March for your meeting. I have given him the calendar with all of the meeting dates and my budget is about 99% done. There's a couple areas like health insurance that we don't have a final. But I did get more refined numbers from Berlin Boylston today as well, which we'll discuss. And my budget is now in your Google Drive.
Mhm.
And I also have a draft of the annual town meeting warrant going as well, so I'm hoping to leave him in good hands. Or good shape,
Yeah.
rather, to move forward.
But there will be, how much of an overlap between?
There's not an overlap.
There's
It's
zero.
not usually done that way.
Okay,
Yeah, so he's coming in for a couple of days, we'll do handoffs, so he's gonna be here about 20 to 22 hours a week to help fill that gap. The select board has temporarily appointed Dee to be the acting assistant town administrator. And they have authorized bringing in a part-time executive assistant for up to 19 hours a week, should we be able to find one. That is actually the plan when I present my budget later on tonight that you will see that I've proposed for FY 27. So they are giving it a trial run now to see how it goes in light of my sudden departure.
And how many hours was that part-time assistant? approved
Up to
for?
19. And those are both temporary positions. They are in accordance with the plan I'm recommending, but they are not set in stone by any means as they have to go to town meeting. If the FinCom so wishes as part of the FY 27 budget.
Okay.
But I highly recommend it and I will tell you later why. I don't want to take time away from Tim. I know he's here. I just wanted to give you that one announcement before it slipped my mind.
okay. Tim?
I forgot to, do you want me to play some music while you walk up? I could have done that better. He's got it.
He's providing his.
I think we need Eye of the Tiger.
Dun, 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 dun. All right, gotcha.
What can I tell you? What do you want to know?
Well, for the people that maybe watch.
Kim
may want to
Wheeler,
Watch this afterwards. who are
CPA.
why here?
CPA committee, and I'm here to discuss the CPA budget proposed articles for the upcoming town meeting. And then I have another item I need to chat with you about that's off the agenda, but anyway. So, we generated $378,208 of income on the town side of CPA through the 3%. And then the state match, because we're at 3% and we capture money in all 3 rounds, we got $168,018 from the state.
This is
So
FY 25.
this is for 20.
Sorry, we're crossing 3 fiscal years right now, which is why I asked, because I get confused. That's the close of 25 to use in 26? Is that right?
We could use it in,
No, 27.
we can't use it in 26. It's anticipated still.
Got it.
Well, let me put it this way. No, this is the income. The budget we'll propose will be the anticipated. So this is what we realized. And it will be the revenue that we'll put into our pocket at the beginning of this next cycle. June will nod her head if I'm wrong.
She's not.
Yeah, I don't.
She's doing more of a circle, so I'm
But
not.
this is money that's essentially in the pocket. I mean, this is what was collected for taxes in the.
Right.
Is that,
And the match we got from the state, they paid it
okay,
back in November, probably.
So it was money that we received in 25.
Right. Available in 26.
27.
it closed out the FY 25 cycle.
Yep.
Of property taxes and the match for that.
Similar to how free cash comes in. We close out
Pretty much.
25 in 26 and we can use it in 27,
Yes.
which we could use it in 26 if you had a fall town
And
meeting.
the
but-
CPA funds, they like to do the same thing we do at town meeting, is they appropriate money from
Right.
income going to people.
Yeah, we've always wanted to expend money that we always have. You can commit, but it's been our practice not to. You can commit anticipated funds, but that doesn't make June happy, and that settles it.
So this is money that can be used in the fiscal 27
Right.
budget cycle.
So into each bucket this cycle on the budget for the committee will propose a budget for 27. And in that budget will be 44,000 and change for each of the 3 buckets: community housing, open space and rec, and historic preservation. So we'll have an article that'll put 54,622 in each of those 3 buckets. And then in that same article will be the rest of this accumulated monies from this past fiscal year that'll go into the fourth sort of general revenue. What do we call it? We call it budgeted reserve. So we have a budgeted reserve account. And that ends up being available for any of those 3 uses. And of course, all of these hold in place if they're not expended. So each of the buckets right now has somewhere about $100,000 in them already from past years that hasn't been committed to projects. So we're in reasonably good shape, and if a significant land purchase opportunity came up or something like that, we'd be in the position to act on it. because there's also funds in the budgeted reserve that are sitting there as well. There are 3 articles that we're going to put on the warrant to commit CPA funds to new projects this cycle. The Clark Conservation Land on Route 62 on the north side, West Street past Coburn Road, got hit pretty hard with the tornado, and the land has been, the trails have all been closed. And in order to make them accessible again, the Conservation Commission has asked for $40,200 to restore those trails.
Is that mostly tree removal, Tim?
Yeah,
40,200, you said?
yep. And then the Conservation Commission, realizing in the past when it's looked at land acquisition opportunities, expenses for survey work or title search or any of that, well, wasn't always available. They'd scurry around, try to find some of that money from some other source. So we're proposing to put $100,000 into a fund that the Conservation Commission would control and be able to utilize for those purposes in the future. So they could anticipate an opportunity to acquire a piece of land, do the homework, prepare the numbers, get the title searches and all those things squared away, and then be able to come to town meeting with a proposal that was clean.
How would they expend those funds, Tim? Would they have to go back to CPA with each individual item?
No, so this would be money just like the Housing Trust has that, you know, they can utilize it for those purposes outlined in the warrant article. So we'll try to be fairly specific. I think that's one of the things that we're learning as we've gone along, is we want to be far more particular in the way in which we write the language in the warrant article. So it's broad enough, but limited enough. So everybody on the floor knows exactly how the money's going to be spent. And then there's no interpretation later down the line.
So are these two, is there 2 separate articles? Okay, so these are 2 separate projects?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so one is really a project that would expend the 40,200 rather quickly. The other 100,000 might sit around for, you know, who knows? There are always pieces that might come up that we might want to acquire. So the funds could be expended quickly this way because it'd be available. We wouldn't have to go to the select board and say, help, you know, or pull out of some other Conservation Commission pocket.
So question, and maybe this is both you and June, but so you have that 100,000, and my guess is that would be pointed at recreation purpose bucket.
Yeah, conservation, open space, recreation.
The headline is recreation, and then, but conservation open space uses it. There's recreation, historical, and
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean,
housing,
Community.
yes.
right. I think in this case, we've said that it would be at the hands of the Conservation Commission as opposed to the Recreation Committee.
That's, I'm talking about this, the CPA 3 buckets. I don't care what we do in the town.
Okay.
I'm just talking about the 3 buckets. So
Yep.
this is in the recreation bucket. So my question that's kind of maybe accounting is, you got a new year coming up and you have to make the split for the 3 buckets. Do we care if there's already money in there left over, like
In the bucket,
Yeah,
10%
in the bucket? It just sits there.
If it's
Okay.
not used. I think it's open space / recreation.
Right. And I should have.
Is it? Okay.
And so what I should have said is that the 40,200 for the trails would come out of the Conservation Commission bucket, or Conservation Open Space bucket. The 100,000 we're suggesting would come out of the budgeted reserve account.
Yeah, just looking here, I was looking back at previous ones. The 3 definitions are community housing,
Right.
historic reserve, and open space reserve.
Yep.
No recreation.
Rest-
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
from
reserve,
use,
okay. Thank you.
But it's open space.
Mhm.
Tim, too, just.
What are
quick-
you, are you reading out of the warrant?
Warrant articles, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about the act. I think there's names there's actual names in the act, and I don't remember offhand. what
Oh,
it
I
is.
I
think that's what those
matches
are.
what
I think that's
the,
what those are,
The
okay.
act, yes.
Okay.
This is part of the problem is then when you read the definitions of below it, then they talk about other things, but people end up throwing that into the titles and they're not.
Yes.
These are the actual titles.
Just
Okay.
2 quick caveats, Tim, I love that idea, by the way, because I have been trying to find legal money and I know conservation's been trying to find money, so I think this is a great idea. Of course, I have to put my procurement hat on, when it comes to surveys, and any other pre-work that if it's over 10.
Right.
You know, they need to talk to the town administrator's office and make sure that that is clear. And also legal, we have specific counsel that we
Yep.
use and that to use them just does require town administrator authorization.
Yep,
Leave these set up, these as special articles, it'll still have to go through CPA sign off as well as on the zoning town administrators. Before we physically spell.
So that just the way the process works normally with the invoice. Yeah, okay,
come
that's
through
great.
the channel.
I would just hate to see an invoice come through that we hadn't properly procured. So, and I
Right.
know you guys are on the procurement, but sometimes the recipients of the money are not always aware of all the procurement requirements. So just throwing that out there.
Sounds good.
And one other question is, so the restoration of the trail, so this falls under that definition, not fall into maintenance or that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this is so much larger than a maintenance issue. I mean, this is a catastrophe that, occurred and it's just got to be dealt with in a way that's far more complicated than anything related to just going along and taking down a fallen tree that's crossed the trail,
And
that sort of thing.
essentially inhibiting
Right,
the use of the open space.
yeah, I mean, it's closed
Yeah.
Okay.
and it'll stay that way until they do something. And Mother Nature won't take care of this in our lifetime. It's one of these deals where we've got to step in, so. Yeah, it's a little different than normal. And then the third project, the town owns the clock in the meeting house steeple. And it has not functioned for a while. And so Lisa prepared a proposal for the restoration of that clock and found a firm in Eastern Mass that specializes in some of this steeple work where they work on clocks and stuff. And initially came with a figure that didn't include the sort of the restoration of the striking mechanism, just the operation of the clock itself. And we said, well, why don't you include or investigate the inclusion of the striking mechanism as well? And so she went ahead and did that. So there's the opportunity to have it strike if we were to choose, might strike it from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night or something like that. And so that's $40,850.
And that would come out of the historical bucket.
That would come out of the historical bucket.
I'm sorry, Tim, can you give me that amount again?
$40,850.
Got it. Thank you.
So essentially, there'll be 4 articles, the one that's our budget, and then these 3 in particular. These 3 will be presented by the proponents, and then our budget will present ourselves.
And these items would affect the taxpayers.
This is all coming out of CPA money that's
All coming out of
already
money that's
been
already
collected and, yeah.
It's just getting the kind of like the authorization to actually use.
Yeah, so the only articles that can go to the floor for CPA are those that are recommended by the committee. And the only way CPA money can be expended is through the town meeting. And the town meeting can approve it, they can disapprove it. And there's a third choice, which usually escapes me because I can't imagine it ever being utilized, but I guess you could commit What, do you remember? It's sort of like yeah, I won't go there. I'll be out in a limb.
Yeah, I know what you're referring to. I
Yeah.
have to look it up and
You can't
There is
monkey
one-
with the numbers.
there is one modification of
Yeah.
some type that you can make. I know we did a modification, and I think this is the type like one of these first years, and that was before you were the town administrator. That was adjustment of how the funds came out. We took funds from that existed on the town floor from some other article that originally came from Highland Commons that was put in for recreation type of stuff. And we just, reduced the money from one and part of that
Yeah.
money and did it from there.
So those are those. There are three projects that are outstanding that are of significance: the pavilion, the fields, and the restoration of the fields, and work on the Bullard House. Some of the Bullard House money's been expended. The pavilion and the fields, there hasn't been, I think that, yeah, because the fields ended up getting some work done without any expenditure of funds. They had some people quote them some numbers and without having to expend money.
And
So-
then they've done the well bid, the well scope for the irrigation. It just needs to get put out to bid.
Right. So the question I had was, of the 15 or so projects that might get handed to an interim town administrator, are Bullard, the fields, or the pavilion on that list, or will those hold until there's a replacement?
So everything is on the list, but items that have hard expenditure deadlines are higher on
Right.
the list. So the playground, there's using ARPA money
Yeah.
at South Commons is first. As well as the Bullard House drainage, and site work with the septic, because that's all it tied into the Complete Streets
Right.
project. I would, say those are definitely both on the priority project list. I put the South Commons, well bid on next because that bid is ready. It just needs to be reviewed and put in the proper format and put out to bid. The pavilion, I don't have the final IFB doc. I'm
Okay.
waiting for it.
You're weighing it from the committee.
Recreation. Yep, they're using Bob Holmes, who did the tennis courts, the rec courts over here, who was great. There's just some finishing things he has to do on the IFB, from what I understand, something warranty related and otherwise. And then he actually drafted the whole IFB. So that will be relatively easy to put out once it's received.
So this rec overlaps with CPA.
There's money from CPA that got put into the potential construction of a pavilion, 150,000. And 300,000 was committed for the restoration of the playing fields
Okay.
with irrigation and a well.
So kind of how you're going with these three articles to get money out of that bucket. Previous fiscal years, you've given money out of that bucket for these projects.
Yeah, that bucket, or it might have been the budgeted reserve. The 300,000, I think, came out of the budgeted reserve because there wasn't enough in open space and rec,
Okay.
certainly. That's where you're allowed to be fluid with those budgeted reserve funds. So if something comes in that would exceed the amount that's in the specified bucket, you can draw from that. I mean, I think the CPA consortium has always suggested drain down those buckets that have got the 10% being put into them on a regular basis, because those can't be used for anything else. And then leave the budgeted reserve healthy so that it can be drawn in multiple directions. So that's what we've tried to do.
Tim, one thing on the procurement that struck me is most of the recipients of CPA project funds are boards and committees that don't have staff. Or if they do, they have very limited staff. I know there was discussion at one point about getting the CPAC admin trained in procurement because it is causing some backups since all the procurement falls on the town administrator essentially, because that's the only person who has the training.
Right.
My assistant does have the training now, but she hasn't actually worked in any of it yet. I didn't know if there were still plans to get her trained and MCPPO certified.
Not at this time. I can have that conversation again, but we initially tried to do that, and that's when she was working part-time in the assessor's office, and
Okay,
it was a scheduling issue, I think,
gotcha.
from our point of view. So, but I can have that conversation again.
It would be a benefit, I think, because these are large scale projects and I fear that there will continue to be delays if there isn't additional staffing resources, not just for the procurement, but also for the project management piece.
So you would recommend that D receive?
Dee has her
Or somebody
MC.
that's already
PPO?
employed by the town gets?
There's a CPA admin.
Oh, there is, okay.
Yeah, but again, limited hours as well. So, one of the ways that procurement could be better handled is with the office reorganization that I'm proposing that we'll discuss later.
So 5% of CPA funds can be put aside on an annual basis for admin. And so we utilize that to bring on someone that works 8 to 10 hours a week.
Okay.
That's the little admin bucket, right?
Yeah, and that admin bucket that isn't utilized gets put back into the general fund of CPA, whereas the 10% that goes into the specified bucket stays and builds. And interest accrues in any of those that stays with those as well. But the admin one is there to allow us to give support. So I think you're right. I mean, trying to develop the ability to do procurement through the office, through that admin, would benefit the town.
I really would. Another avenue would be kind of the project coordinator, planner person who might be able to help with the project management side. Because I know there are things that have been delayed and I hate to see things delayed, but when you only have so much staffing, sometimes things have to sit. So,
I mean, that's the CPA money right now is being used for some admin support for the housing trust. And we anticipate that, we'll continue to try to work that into a budget for the historic trust. I mean, the housing trust. Because that again helps the town.
absolutely.
What we're learning is ways to be imaginative about CPA funds that, you're not supposed to be replacing expenses that the town would normally incur with CPA money. It's supposed to be addressed at projects that sort of exceed our capacity usually. So certainly the acquisition of land usually exceeds our capacity. And the housing initiatives that the trust will endeavor would exceed the town's capacity usually. So, but you can't sort of buy soccer balls and stuff like that for the rec committee, but the restoration of a field is a different beast. It's not an annual maintenance cost, that sort of thing. It's a major capital expenditure. So we can utilize the CPA money that way.
So this committee has kept the CPA committees kind of feet to the fire of, are you bringing on operational costs when you recommend a CPA project? Because those CPA monies aren't intended at all for operation. They're intended for a capital project, basically to major sort of.
In those categories.
In those categories, that's right. So we want to know if you're going to do that, is it then going to land on our operating budget? So there needs to be a plan on the operating side as well as on the capital side of the CPA project.
So the good news is with these, the Clark Conservation Restoration is not going to incur an expense.
Right.
And that, it's going to be ongoing beyond what's already there. The Conservation Commission Fund actually helps the town because it puts money into a fund that allows us to not have to utilize some other monies that would have to come out of some other pocket. And in Lisa's report on the clock, the maintenance costs are minimal at best. I mean, they don't amount to anything. And the
Which Lisa are we talking
Wasaki,
about? Oh, okay, thank you.
yeah. So that looked really good to us. And again, it's included in the report that she put together for us. So we didn't anticipate any significant amount of expense as a result of operating that.
She did a really great job putting that together.
We don't have to like boil it once a day or something.
No.
We're good.
Barry has to climb the
Barry has
clock
to
tower.
I followed Barry up to the
Yes.
That was my
Yes,
follow-on
Yes, to
question.
climb up and wind it every.
Reading your mind.
Twice a
here.
year for daylight savings.
I
time.
followed him up the
Loading
ladder
it.
into the tower the other
Closest.
day, and I thought, if I can do this at his age, I'll be happy,
I agree.
because it just was. A quick unrelated to CPA topic that the planning board chatted about last night. Solomon Pond Mall has been sold. The sale took place at the end of December. Entity called
Were you looking for who bought it?
Industrial Commercial Properties LLC out of Cleveland, Ohio. They control about 48 million square feet in their portfolio, which primarily is in Ohio, but I mean, they go down into Texas and Illinois and places like that. They've never been in New England before. Their proposal is to bring light industrial uses to the site, although they do have some sites that are sort of mixed use. As you recall, Macy's, Sears, and Penney's own their own pad. So ICP has bought the mall, but they don't control the three anchors yet. They're in negotiation with Penney's and Sears and Macy's. Macy's early on indicated they may be interested in trying to stay. So that's what's going on. The city of Marlboro modified the zoning for all of Donald Lynch Boulevard 3 years ago. And some of the uses that they've included in their chart are uses that we don't allow in the overlay for Solomon Pond Mall and wouldn't be inclined to include in the future. And we don't believe if we went to town meeting, the townspeople would accept some of those uses, like warehousing and 400-unit apartment complexes and stuff like that. It appears as though Marlboro wouldn't be too interested in those uses either, although they appear on their use chart. Marlboro argues that because they use the special permit process, I think differently than we do here, they would just say, no, you can't have that use in this particular zone. ICP has said that they would like to have most of the uses on the use chart that Marlboro is used for the whole strip, uses that are allowed by right. And Marlboro has said, and we chuckled because we said, you're in New England now, guys. And in New England, this special permit is just a matter of course. And you're just not you're not in a hayfield out in Ohio where no one's really paying much attention. You're in a backyard of somebody here in a neighborhood. So the special permit option for Marlboro would still probably come into play. We said to Marlboro, as you modify your zoning to accommodate whatever it is that ICP wants to do, we'll engage with you, and then ultimately we'd modify our zoning to try to match up. We've suggested to Marlboro that they consider isolating the mall overlay, both in Berlin and Marlboro, as a distinct subsection of the total zone so that they could sort of mirror what we could probably get through town meeting here. So the whole thing would be a consistent campus. And they feel, I think they're listening to that conversation. So I spoke to their economic director last week and I said, what's the news from ICP? And she said, well, she hadn't heard anything because they're still trying to pick up the Sears and Pennies. And I said, so the city council hasn't moved forward, and she said no. And I said, so we're not holding up the parade here, and she said no. So we felt good about that. Months ago, when this first came up, you know, we would chat and trying to figure out when would it be necessary for us to go to a town meeting. And we thought it might very well be this one, but it's not going to be. We said to ICP, if they really needed to move quickly at any time and they were willing to pay for the town meeting, we'd just call a special town meeting. And I think they'd understand that that would probably be the best course of action for them.
So they came to like a planning board or? what communication, or
We've
has it
talked
been
to
through
them.
Marlboro.
A subset of the planning board has chatted with them a couple times, along with Marlboro. So we haven't, they haven't come to a planning board meeting. They haven't met with the select board.
So nothing formal, nothing.
Nothing
open-
yet.
Open meeting type
No.
of thing yet.
So my suspicion is that over the next few months, everything will have to ramp up. And what the planning board said was, haha, you know, we didn't anticipate putting this into any budget line item, but we probably need to anticipate the expenditure of some money in order to have town council look at some of the numbers and some of the proposals and perhaps bring in some consultant help. But we hadn't put that as a line item. So we wanted to ask you guys about what best way to do that. We're thinking about maybe 15,000, but we don't know.
So doing like 15,000 from free cash
Yeah,
as
something
a
like that.
article.
Yeah, that's what I'd recommend.
Because I think it'd be money well spent. And we ultimately we'd have to come up with it somehow. So we'd be stealing out of some pocket that wouldn't help anybody else's budget. So
So Tim, this would be a warrant article for 10,000 free cash
yeah,
for
15.
purposes of planning board, what's?
I think it'd be rewriting the bylaw. Because that's mainly what it would be. That's what we had to do
Mm.
years ago. And when,
And that involves legal costs.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, yeah,
you got to get,
okay.
I mean, what we used last time was we had a consultant that came in and helped us shape the zoning. And then we used town council to see with that it was Joel Bard from Coleman and Page. And we used Rick Tainer as a private consultant to help us. This isn't going to be as complex as that time, because in that case, 30 years ago, we were writing the overlay from scratch. And had never gone there before. So the town's gotten sort of used to the notion of modifying these things, but
So Tim, you wear a couple hats here in town. You're on CPA and on planning.
yes.
Okay.
The CPA has a representative from the planning board, the conservation commission, the housing trust, recreation, historical, and then 2 members at large. So there's 7
Okay.
members on the board, yeah.
And the good news is, in terms of legal, you have one of the best land use attorneys in the business.
Yeah.
With Heather White. So I think putting aside money makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, we're gonna have to come back for probably a reserve fund transfer. So that planning and foresight is a really good thing.
So we put this in the operating budget that we developed as we go along here.
I would say town meeting warrant article.
Separate article.
A special article that we could put on May town meeting.
Yeah.
And the warrant is still open. It doesn't close until the 23rd. So
Yeah.
you're well within the time to put that request.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I brought it up sooner, but
Listen, you're still within time.
we were talking last night and saying there's probably gonna be some complicated discussions involved here, and it's gonna be beyond the capacity of the planning board to figure it out sometimes, so.
Mhm.
And all those articles end up going to town council one way or another, and some get heavier in terms of the rewrites, so.
But I mean, it's money well spent when you consider that we're looking at picking revenues back up in some fashion.
Yeah, what ICP does is primarily light industrial. They'd come in, rip out the second floor, reinforce the ceilings, and then bring in maybe, half a dozen or whatever different tenants, each taking up, 30, 50, 70,000 square feet apiece. And what have we done? They gave examples of, it's a lot of the companies that you recognize that are doing media stuff, or sometimes for instance, they said they've got a company that retrofits vans for the handicap. So they take up 40,000 square feet in one of their Ohio facilities, and they bring in the vans, retrofit them, and so they're pushing stuff out all the time.
The key here is to avoid somebody like Amazon
Yeah.
going in and out of there. That creates
Yeah.
additional traffic for both towns.
Yeah, so what we'd end up with is less traffic than the mall generated at its peak, more green area. Some fill in, probably. There might be some additional spaces that would be developed. So the permissible building area would probably be modified, particularly in the area between Donald Lynch and the front of the mall, just due to the fact that there's some probably, opportunity to be gained. I mean, we can do fast food restaurants there now. You might very well find that 1.5 million people that go to the hockey rinks would take advantage of a opportunity like this. We talked hotel a little bit. Marlboro does service the site with water and sewage, so I think Marlboro was reluctant to commit to significant housing, and perhaps the motel piece might falter as well. It's hard to tell how they feel about it. And because we want this to sort of be
When you say that
a collaborative effort,
overall they're concerned with how, or just on the Berlin side, because they're the.
both.
Oh,
yeah.
Even on both sides.
Yeah, they're not eager to see a lot of housing, on their side necessarily either,
They have a lot going on right now that's tapping
particularly
into their
downtown.
water and sewer
Yeah.
right now. That's already. I think they're finding that they're having a hard time
Yeah,
Servicing existing needs.
servicing existing needs, and then they just added a ton to it.
yeah. The reason ICP was attracted to this site obviously is because of the highway network, but also the significant amount of power that's available on the site. And so often they said if they look at raw sites in the region, the ability to bring power to it to deal with light industrial requirements takes, with national grids, track record, years. So to be able to come into a site that's got power as much as this site does, and space that could be retrofitted in a relatively short period of time.
So was that the power originally just for the retail operation?
Yeah.
Didn't strike me as power hungry in the way you
Yeah,
built him to be, but
but I guess there's a lot of, there's power here.
Well,
So,
if you think about, just down the road, you go right by the New England Sports Center. Look right next to that, there is a massive
yeah,
substation
is,
there,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's
That
probably
whole
what they're
area.
really keying off of, because it's certainly
Yeah.
a thing that
Yeah.
along Downland Boulevard, not necessarily just the site of
Yeah.
Solomon Pond Mall.
And I think they've been upgrading that power station. There's
There
been
has been a lot of
activity
work
there.
over there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I've
true.
noticed that.
so good. I think that's it for me. Thanks.
okay,
Did I
Pretty-
stir up
pretty
enough
s-
dust?
you did, and you're very concise about it, which is, oh,
Well, I took way more time. I took double the time I was supposed to have.
Maria,
Yeah, I was only supposed to have, was supposed to have 20 minutes. And
we're gonna. have
Well,
a-
you'll have to discuss it with the people that you held up.
I know, I expected June to sort of,
Get the hook.
put me over backwards here.
Yeah, especially because you're out of, she's out of your line of sight, so you can't even see it coming.
I just want to make sure, Sheena, does she have any questions? I know she's been silent over there. I just want to make sure she truly is just
No.
silent.
Thank you, Scott. I'm
Not,
good.
not trying to get our attention and we're not paying attention to
No,
it.
no, listening. Yeah, thank you.
This, light industrial, and there's the spot in Devon's.
Yeah.
Is that a biotech?
Yeah,
focus?
there's some stuff up there.
Are they doing okay? Have any idea?
I mean, what I continue to see growth up there.
Yeah, okay.
So it seems to me that it's been successful. I think what these guys are attracted to is the labor force here is sophisticated enough to handle.
Yeah.
You look around the corner at what
Yeah.
Saint Gobain is doing,
Hmm.
which is extraordinary. I mean, that site keeps growing.
What?
Saint Cobain has,
Oh, Saint
significant-
Gobain, okay.
Yeah.
significant, Saint-Gobain has a, well, I can't say it French too,
You are
but it's
correct.
got one of their core R&D centers around the world is Northborough.
Right there. at
So,
the
so
intersection of
ceramics,
290,
glass,
right? So,
Yeah.
all kinds of plastics,
and,
abrasives.
because they took over Norton, right? And,
Yeah,
and
In Clinton.
in Worcester.
Oh, in Worcester.
yeah, and their diamond, they had a artificial diamonds operations part of the abrasive tools thing, and that was one of the things that was going on there. It keeps evolving. There's, I
Yeah.
think, maybe more plastics, a little more out of the Certainty Housing Materials Division, some more of that research goes on there, but it is the North American site for
R&D.
Saint Cobain research.
So the labor force is here, access to the highway, structures are there. For us, it means a renewed opportunity to begin to have the revenue stream increase rather than decrease, and good paying jobs, less traffic,
Mhm.
it's,
And there's another industrial outfit, Aspen Aerogel is right there.
yeah,
As you turn in,
Yeah.
and that just occurred to me with Saint Cobain, but the diamond sort of operation going. Those are both power users, big.
Mm.
Which may be another reason why the power is available.
Yeah.
I mean.
That
Saint
would be,
Cobain's a little
that would be
distant,
some
but-
good news too, seeing something moving into the state rather than all the bad news of everything moving out of the
right,
state.
yeah. Now, these guys have never operated in New England before, so there's a learning curve for them.
Yeah.
Just how to operate in a with small municipalities rather than probably on a countywide basis. But I like them. They remind me of our relationship with New England Development in the 90s, where you met with the proponents, key players. And when you were negotiating and you said, what about this? They said, okay, we'll make that change. And they initialed it right there and it was done. Whereas some of the other groups that came in, they'd say, well, we've got to go back to the home office, and, the underlings couldn't make a decision, and, they'd go away and try to explain it and come back and say, no, they won't buy it, that sort of stuff. But these guys, you're sitting at the table with the CEO already, so I thought this is humming different.
You
And
got the middleman.
yeah, and Meredith, in Marlboro really feels good about them too. The other groups that were bidding on the site just didn't excite us the same way. So we were pleased when these guys won the day, because it wasn't a foregone conclusion. There were half a dozen different groups, I think, looking at it.
Can you remember what they paid for it?
Oh, some ridiculous sum,
It was low, wasn't it?
$6 or $7 million
8.5.
or something,
8.5 million. is what it
8.5
looks like.
million. Yeah,
Which I believe, the
the town
confusing.
should have bought it.
Well, the confusing thing has been reading about, the articles are out there, leave a lot to be desired,
Mhm.
because they'll discuss about valuation from the town. So one of the first things is 8.5 million am assuming was a full purchase of the mall section other than the anchor stores, both Berlin and Marlboro. But then when you read the people who wrote these articles, they'll describe only a description of the valuation, but they'll talk about just from a Marlboro side. So you're going,
Yeah.
so is it, you still have to get the valuation of the Berlin side? So how does that 8.5 million compare to the overall thing?
Thing,
The
right?
articles are really poorly researched and
Yeah.
a lot of times they won't even mention the Sears. They'll talk about it from the Marlboro side.
Mhm.
And I don't take any faith in trying to understand anything from that other than it seems like 8.5 million encompassed everything as far as I can tell.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that Penny's controls a substantial amount of the frontage on Donald Lynch. So that,
Yeah, the parking lot.
yeah,
area.
these guys are really boxed in. Sears doesn't have quite as much frontage. Because each of the anchors had to have frontage on Donald Lynch to be legit. But I'd forgotten that Penny's had such a substantial hold, but they really do. So if their plan is to depart in the next year, which is what we've understood, they still are in a bargaining position that's pretty strong, especially where these guys have already acquired the rest of the property. It's not like they're
They
gonna
made it
find somebody else.
contingent
Yeah,
on these other ones.
yeah. Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
All right. Sleep tight.
Yeah,
Thank you.
too.
Good night, Joan.
Tim.
We'll be in-
This evening.
We'll be in touch.
Okay.
All these cool new things I learned from the video.
Milton, do we have electricity?
Fingers crossed.
Commission, they have a level funded budget.
You
so-
really do.
Anybody coming
It's,
for that?
it's extraordinary.
Also, but
The visibility that.
I mean, this is just on
Yeah.
the surface.
Go on.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to the Kristen's.
Kristen's up.
in the hub. So I'm gonna try to talk and navigate and do all of the things. So bear with me a little bit, please. So this is the town administrator's budget, Department 123. There is combined full-time salary for the town administrator as well as the assistant to the town administrator, although sorry, give me 1 second to pull my budget up because I think I broke it out in the budget. They're both salaried positions, so it made sense to combine them into one line item, but I'm having a,
I think you have it on the next sheet.
oh, do I?
Just
Okay,
go
all
with,
right, let me get this.
but it'll be sideways.
Yes, but I have the rotate button, the magical rotate button here. So, okay, there we go. So this is the salaried employees worksheet. So this will be, 1 second. This will be for the next town administrator as well as the assistant position. Right now, the contract that I have authorizes a cost of living adjustment only. So that is why the TA salary is going up 4,800 to 164,800. I do feel, depending on the applicants, that should be a relatively competitive salary to be able to secure your next town administrator. And without having any further information about who's going to apply or fill that seat, I think we have to go forward with the best information we have right now, which is what's in the existing contract. And then the assistant position gets adjusted by, like everybody else, the 3% COLA and the step. So that brings it to 76,817 for a total of 241,617 for the salaries. Any questions on that?
Doesn't look like it.
No, no.
All right,
No,
Pretty much COLA and step,
COLA and step.
no surprises.
No surprises. So let me go back to, or back up to expenses then in that case. So we have a couple that we kind of add on to our spreadsheet that weren't included, which is the HR budget. Because since this time, we have now opened Teamster negotiations with the highway union. And the fire union is going to be going into negotiations, all for new contracts in likely FY 27, definitely for fire and hopefully for highway. I'm actually recommending we go up to $50,000 in the HR budget, where initially I had thought 40. You'll see that reflected in the budget that I will show you shortly after. I've also recommended we reduce the consulting budget a little bit, back, I believe, down to 18,000. Let's pull this up.
So the HR will be increasing from 20 to 50?
That's the recommended because we have 2 union negotiations underway. I do still have it broken out here, but. So my recommendation is actually to cut the consulting down to 15,000. When I took a look, those were my requested. I will give you my recommendation since it's me. I'm actually recommending we reduce that down based on expenditures this year to 15,000 for consulting. And what that typically goes for is our environmental consulting for soil importation. And that is Maplewood Farms and any other soil importation projects that are going on in town. It can also be used if there is a consulting need that comes up that wasn't previously identified. But I'm comfortable backing off that a little bit because of our expenditure trends. Now I say that and soil importation will go through the roof, but I'm really hoping that it does not. Any questions on HR or consulting?
So consulting is legal.
Nope, consulting is consultants. It's
Okay,
typically
okay, all right.
engineering firms. The one we mainly use is Weston and Sampson,
Yeah,
as they
yeah,
do our soil LSP licensed site professional work.
Oh.
And they also, the select board has appointed Weston and Sampson to be their conduit is not the right word. Their technical advisor for the
Oh.
earthworks board, because the select board
Oh.
is now the earthworks board, so they implement the soils bylaw.
Oh.
So, but obviously, no one on the select board is specifically trained as a soil consultant or licensed site professional. So they appoint Weston and Sampson to do that. So anything that comes through soil related would come out of that line item. All right, I'll go back to expenses if you guys are all set with that. We are actually proposing to level fund advertising at $150. That gets us, while MMA just upped their prices, it used to be $75 for an ad. Now it's $110. But we have also tapped into some of the HR money for those advertisements when we have to post a position because we don't always know when something's going to become vacant. I'm proposing removing 4,800 and you'll see it transferred into the town report and communications line item. That is for the warrants to be printed and mailed. And in fact, that only covers annual town meeting and a portion of special town meetings. So when we get to that budget, you'll see I've adjusted it to cover 2 town meetings, but it doesn't really make sense for it to be looking like it's artificially inflating the town administrator's budget when the purpose is printing and mailing the warrants, which is a town-wide expense. So that's probably the biggest change. The rest is really just a reallocation of funds. I'm sorry, there's a cell phone for the town administrator, given all of the public records requests we've been getting and the fact that, God forbid there's any legal and someone's personal phone gets tied up for the amount of time that someone needs to go through their phone. It really makes sense in this day and age to have a separate cell phone for the town administrator. I really did not want to have 2 phones, but I actually like it. And it's just a safer way to do it. That way no one takes your personal phone and goes through it looking for work stuff. So that's comes out to $333 a year for the TA cell. We upped postage a little bit, given the increased costs. And we level funded the other services, which we use for the shredding. We do the shredding for the whole of the town offices side of the building. We have 2 buckets out here in the hallway. Level funded office supplies at $2,900. And you'll see an adjustment down below under travel and dues. Town meeting this fall added $3,000 to the town administrator's budget so that 2 select board members could go to the MMA annual conference in Boston. So what we've done is we've taken that money and we've reallocated it to where it appropriately belongs within the line items, which would be within travel and meetings. So you'll see $2,000 travel went up and $1,000 meetings went up. That is your $3,000. And dues are going up $150. We don't really have a lot of control over that. MMA and the MMMA, which is the Mass Municipal Managers Association, they're doing a 1% increase this year. And then other expenses, we have a Vadar software license for our office that's going up $2. So you're actually going to see a reduced budget on expenses for us, but you're going to see an increase in that town report communication line item. Any questions on expenses?
No.
Sheena? Give me a holler if you have anything. I don't want to
No,
miss you.
no, thank you.
All right, perfect. And then I think that was it for regular budget. So I will go over this is the 5-year outlook that we prepared. So as you'll see, FY27, I'm going to jump into the supplemental funding requests in a moment. We are asking for an office reorganization that would involve turning the current assistant position into an assistant town administrator position and adding a 19-hour-a-week executive assistant. That is at a cost of $58,500. I can tell you the office sees the need, the select board sees the need. I just finished my project list to hand off to the interim. It only has 47 projects on it. And a lot of those are lumped together, like each individual policy is not an individual project. There is a tremendous need. We have not been able to keep up with the growth in this town and state regulations from a staffing perspective. And because we are short all around on staffing, our office often fills in the gaps when other offices are short-staffed or have questions or aren't sure how to proceed with things. The foot traffic in our office is pretty incredible. So that is the ask for 27, along with the cost to replace the 2 office printers and purchase a new computer and phone for the 19-hour-a-week position. And that we would look into using existing data system funds for it, as well as our TA expenses, but there's going to be a little bit of work that needs to happen to turn the vestibule into a 3rd office, and Assabet thinks they can do that for relatively short money, which I think makes sense because we're very short on office space here, as in we don't have any.
Where's the vestibule?
So that's when you walk in right now, there's a big counter on the left and the little chairs sit in there.
Downstairs.
That used to be the copy machine room, down at the end of the hallway, right before you walk into Dee's office.
Oh, okay. Oh, that little.
It's small,
Yes,
but if you rip out the cabinet,
the
which
the
Assabet can
copier
do,
used to be
it's the
in there
former copy
years ago.
machine. Yep,
Okay.
you could put a small desk in there as an entry to the office. Another option that was discussed is just splitting up the town administrator's office. It's way larger than it needs to be, but it used to be the select board meeting room, which is why it's so big. The problem is you've got a drop ceiling that's angled up there, so it would be potentially a little more costly, but we do have Assabet looking at, could they put some walls up, and you'd have to have some level of soundproofing in there if you're splitting that up into office space. So that's a possibility as well under discussion rather. And I'm recommending, the office needs 3 people eventually. So I'm not recommending a phased in approach to start with the 19 hours for the executive assistant, then increase it to 25 hours in FY28 and increase it to 35 hours in FY29. I don't see any other anticipated expenses in the next 5 years at this time. Questions on the 5-year outlook?
Just a sort of umbrella larger question, Kristen, is planning project management.
Mhm.
Because that's something you've articulated is as a gap. Are we looking at addressing that gap here, or does that need to be addressed somewhere else?
That I'm recommending we add to the planning board budget, and I do have a supplemental funding request for that. I just didn't put it in our office.
Yeah, okay, okay.
But yes, very, very valid point.
Actually, question is, the town offices are closed now on Friday. Does that mean nobody's working on Fridays? Or is it,
Well, I am, I'll tell you
Right,
that, but
right.
we are salaried in our office. We put in far more than 40 hours a week. But the workload is 40 hours between Monday through Thursday, and then any additional night meetings, any work that has to be done on Friday. So it's not a reduction in hours, even though we're closed on Fridays.
now, is there, have you noticed anything that indicates that there's delays on things if there's like 3-day gaps occurring because
I've
of the
received no
weekend?
complaints, not in, we did this almost 2 years ago,
When you say no complaints, internally or externally?
both.
Well, you know, Scott, we've got a history here of everybody, pretty much a lot of it part-time. You know, town clerk's always been part-time since
Right.
26 years I've been here.
Assessor.
So people are used to having to plan ahead for coming to town hall to do something. So it really isn't. It's
Well,
kind of, it's a
I'm-
little bit weird, but
I'm
it's
not,
not that
yeah, I was
different.
really, my question wasn't specific to really the services outside of the people coming in, but just even your own communications of delays or that type of stuff where something, you know, if somebody didn't, internally, like, groups working
A slow,
together.
yeah.
Yeah, like on Thursday, and of course now that, because like anything with salary, nobody hours perfectly overlap on things, and now you got another 3 days delay where things could be, that could have been done. That's what you end up with when you have those bigger gaps in there.
Yeah, the thing is, most of what is an office function, it can be made virtual without an issue, right? COVID really proved that
really-
to us.
Very-
But there are a number of things that you still need a piece of paper, you need to talk to somebody, so those functions, instead of being spread over 5 days, are spread over 4.
And
You
I'll
know,
tell you, the biggest request we receive is for more hours in the town clerk's office. Because we field that foot traffic all the time, because there are limited hours there, because it's a part-time position. And that's where people have to physically come in for records, birth, death, marriage, dog licenses. Other than that, every office was closed on Fridays already, except for us, the accountant, and the treasurer collector. So there was no real Friday coordination going on when you don't have Board of Health, building, assessors, veteran
Yeah.
services, or COA there. All right, so I started talking a little bit about the reorg. Basically, the cost as it breaks down of the 58,500 would be converting the current assistant position into an assistant town administrator position. That would be a cost of approximately 28,200 on top of the existing salary, with a suggested total salary of 105,000 based on the market data that we've done, and we have information attached further down here. And then the 19-hour-a-week position, we looked at where they would be on the salary schedule, and it would be a grade 8, steps 1 through 4, we figure, because it's a new position and it's part-time, the likelihood of getting someone who will qualify for a higher step than that is unlikely. So we budgeted at the highest step, which would be step 4, and at 19 hours a week, that would be $30,300. So that's how you get to the 58,005. I know I've said this before, so I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the town administrator under the act wears 5 hats. Chief Financial Officer, Procurement Officer, Human Resources Director, and IT Director, and then also takes over project management. Contracting and procurement are the only thing, those only come out of the town administrator. Nobody else really has the time or qualifications to be able to do things. We look to having an executive assistant that would take some of the load off of the assistant town administrator, who could take some of the load off of the town administrator. So you'd be looking at an executive assistant looking like licensing, billing, day-to-day foot traffic, phone calls, emails, select board minutes, and then freeing up the ATA to handle the more complex work like human resources, projects, procurement, and contracting. So then the town administrator could handle the long-term projects and planning. It's really, as I mentioned before, we also support other short-staffed departments in the town. And we have had a lot of personnel HR things going on that I would say for at least the last year have taken probably 75% of my time. And that is why you're seeing delays on projects, because there's no one else to do either one of those functions. So again, I foresee lengthy delays, as we're having now on projects, or we have to cancel projects. We're already struggling, as you heard, to provide support to CPA. And so that is the request. Do you have any questions?
What does our job description look like for town administrator?
Um,
I've seen it because I was on the committee, I was one of the town people that was on the committee of the hiring. But I don't know that I retained a copy, or I certainly don't retain it here in my head.
I can share it with you. It's all based on the act, but there is a
Yeah.
specific job description.
Right, and I don't know if Berlin tinkered with it or if it's, you know, a form that, but because we want to get what's on the paper to match the reality of it, and that impacts what your proposal is talking about. So I think it's really important to understand what the contract, you know, the job description.
Yep.
Which is the basis for the contract that you're under, right?
So it all dovetails with the TA Act, and we also are recommending on a side path at hopefully fall town meeting, an amendment to the Town Administrator Act. That's going to help to clarify some of the HR challenges we have right now. The town administrator has no control over HR for any elected board departments, so we cannot standardize human resources functions, which is a huge liability. You also have volunteer board and committee members supervising HR functions, which is a liability for them as well as the town. And we need to align that with obviously our bylaws that we have related to personnel and our employee policy manual. So that's coming together as a package of changes that will be recommended forthcoming. But we really just need to start addressing the gaps in the inability to get to the work that's there right now.
So I'm clear, Kristen, that when you talk about the act, that's a Massachusetts act?
Nope, that's our special act.
That's the town act?
That's the town
Yeah,
special
okay,
legislation,
'cause
the
I
TA Act.
Okay,
Yep, it's
Okay.
really, I can send that too. It really outlines the job functions.
well, it's probably on the website, is it or no?
It is, it should be. Yep, it's also on the state laws because it's a
Yeah.
special act.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions on that?
And
Sheena, you got anything over there? I'm just keeping an eye on you. All right,
No.
all right. And then you can read through the packet. There's the justification that we put together for establishing the assistant town administrator position. There are towns even smaller than us that have one, and a lot of small towns do, especially if they don't have an HR director, a chief financial officer, or anyone handling procurement, contracting, and projects. So to Mary's point, the second request is 25,000 for that part-time contracted, what I call a town planner / economic development coordinator. Tim and Carolyn have suggested perhaps project manager. It's ultimately all the same thing. It just depends on what you want to call it. This would cover a 10-hour week person, and Central Mass Regional Planning Commission is able to provide this staffing. This is the same request I put in last year. It did not get funded last year. I am still recommending that we fund that going forward. However, I would say the more urgent of the two requests is the TA off the pressure off of this position. This position really would address the gaps we have in staffing for land use matters. We don't have regular ZBA staffing. We don't have any town planners. The planning board doesn't have anyone working, assisting with them. Conservation has a 10-hour a week conservation agent. And it's, and ZBA, Leanne pitches in the building department on ZBA a little bit when she can, but she's only a 20-hour a week employee who is the only other person in the building department office besides the commissioner. So there's only so much time that can be allocated to land use matters. I've actually started talking to Tim Wheeler about this 2 months into my tenure here back in 2022. I would love to see this implemented. I think it would really help, especially as we look at Solomon Pond Mall and some of the other redevelopments. And I liked the idea of contracting with Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. They now, I believe, have over 100 employees. They are extremely well-staffed and knowledgeable, and a lot of small towns contract with them for these types of services, and it saves money. I mean, if you had to bring somebody in and potentially pay benefits and, you know, it makes sense to contract out, I believe, for this type of position. So the position would also support the Economic Development Committee, along with the planning board, and look at land use matters and ensuring, really, this is the big piece, that all projects meet conservation, planning and zoning requirements, as well as some of the community projects, including those funded by CPA. So to Mary's point, this is really where I was hoping to have some project management help with the CPA funds.
So this isn't necessarily bringing on another part-time employee.
Nope.
This is funding a contract employee.
Essentially, yes. Yep, it would be working, basically you do an agreement, an MOU with the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. The Housing Trust has a housing coordinator, or they did through CMRPC as well, so it would be modeled very similarly to that. Any questions on that request? I haven't really changed it from last year, so
That was handy.
that was handy. It was, with everything else, that was handy. So-
Well, this is another example of where we got starved last year by the
Mhm.
the money that BBRSD wanted from the town.
I think this is the third year that I've tried to put this in the budget.
Well,
So,
It's also the third year that we've been under,
a lot of stress, yeah, there.
the school ask.
So when you look at all of that, as I pull up the big budget, you'll see that $58,500 dollar funding request in the town administrator budget. I'll have to rename these line items a little bit. Make a highlight there, so I fix that. And then, I believe, let's see. Yes, I did. I did put the $25,000 for the position. Unfortunately, at this time, I'm not recommending my own recommendation, because we have to prioritize, much like as you heard when PD came in, they want a lieutenant and a 12th officer. I think the lieutenant makes more sense for this year and the 12th officer for next year. As much as I would love to say we have this funding, I do think we can cover a little bit of it if we do an office reorg, and then we'll have a better sense of where we're at with projects in 28 to figure out how best to implement this position. And I think, you know, the planning board and conservation, do they do very well on their own? It's some of the day-to-day that I think this position could really assist with, but you've got really strong long-term volunteers on both of those committees that keep things, and boards that keep things going. So any questions on the town administrator budget? Before I jump on you guys to the next one.
No,
Okay. Let me jump down to legal.
Been asking a lot
Um,
of questions.
that-
so
Yeah, so I'll actually show you here because there's really nothing to see on the legal form.
That's what they want
Um,
to say.
Yeah.
Don't look here.
Don't look here. Well, so basically, I think that realistically, we could easily use $100,000, but again, it's a bit of a gamble because we lowered the budget down
Mm.
this past year substantially. And we're running at this point, we are on track to spend almost $100,000 in FY 26 if we continue the way we're going. Now, part of that is because I have 2 union negotiations underway. We had a lawsuit against the Conservation Commission. And again, these are the unpredictable things where sometimes it makes more sense to have a reserve fund transfer if something big comes up through the FinCom. I'm also trying to be cognizant of cost that's going into the budget. So while I originally requested $100,000, I told myself, no, you should only have 85. So my ultimate request for legal is to go from the 68,000 in the FY 28 budget to 85,000, which is a $17,000 increase. I think that creates enough of a buffer that'll get us over the hump with some of the matters that will be wrapped up towards the end of this fiscal year, beginning of next. And then if any other major ones come along, I actually looked over the reserve fund transfers for the past about 10 years. Most of them have been legal. So I do think that we need to add some to that fund, but the town has seemed comfortable coming to the FinCom for reserve fund transfers on that as well.
As long as we don't cut the reserve fund.
As long as we don't cut the reserve fund, yes. So
Because there is.
I level funded your reserve fund, by the way.
There is a page on the legal thing that'll show what the last
Oh, yep.
year's expenses are, just in case.
Yeah, and they're mostly legal. That's the ones that
Yeah.
I've looked at, so. But yes, so that, let's see, that's legal.
Are those lawsuits ongoing or have they been?
There's one lawsuit. I believe it has been paused. They are now negotiating with the Conservation Commission, and have paused the lawsuit for now. I am hopeful they will be able to reach a resolution. From what they have told us, they only filed the lawsuit to preserve their appeal period. So now they are at the table talking with conservation and coming up with a time frame for submitting the information that conservation needs. It's a cease and desist that was issued on a property. So they're fighting that, but they're working together now. So that's great.
So it looks like we budgeted 75,000 in 24.
So we end up
Fiscal
moving a
24.
little, shifting a little. Oh, in 24? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's all right. I thought you meant 25.
no,
I am,
so
Roger, if you have that power cord, I will take it because it looks like I'm dying because I'm hooked into the TV. If not, I can run to my office, but I'm sorry, Mary, go ahead.
I was just trying to.
Full
get a
screen
sense
just
of
went
that.
gray, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on and, yeah. So I can
Uh,
pull up the last, the
So we-
legal budget for
so
the
we
last
dropped-
few years.
Going to 25 from 24, we dropped, but not a huge amount. Wasn't 100,000, 75 down, but we actually spent 110.
We dropped to 60 initially for 25 and, or 26 rather, and then we added another 8,000.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roger.
Yeah.
We added another 8 at fall town meeting, given everything that was going on.
But the previous year, we budgeted 75 and spent 110. So I'm kind of looking at what's our run rate look like.
Here you
And
go.
it looks like it's running more recently around 100,000.
Bigger, so you can see it. Oh, that's really big. Okay,
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Okay.
yes.
Thank you. Thanks, June. That's what I really wanted to allocate and expend it.
Just when we think we're good and we cut it, then we get it.
Correct, because if
Uh,
you look at 24,
It's,
we expended
it's lumpy.
99,000. 23, we expended 116.
I'm sure COVID probably had a lot to do with the 2021, 22 numbers.
Yeah, not a lot going.
There was not a lot going on anywhere
Yeah.
during COVID. I mean, except I'll tell you, a lot of internal work, at least I wasn't here, but we did a lot of internal work
Yes,
during
we did.
COVID, clean up,
Sure.
catch up, get caught up on projects. But yeah, court
not
and
legal.
external things were not specifically going on, so. And as you will see, so this report was as of when the budgets came out,
It was
so,
about, I think, November when I pulled over the data.
yep, 12/17, this is an updated one, so you will see as of not even the end of December, we have spent more than half of the legal budget so far for this year.
I think we're-
And that amount of money needs to bring us through to June, the end of June.
Correct, and I'm trending about $8,000 a month in legal bills right now.
Well, isn't the budget now 68 or 60?
It was, well, the fall town meeting isn't reflected in this. We added $8,000 at fall town meeting, but that was for a specific purpose. That was for the River Run survey. So that is kind of
But
earmarked,
has
if
that
you will.
already been come out here yet or not?
It has not come out of here yet, but there's an additional 8,000 that's not reflected right here. So it's a wash on that.
yeah.
So thoughts on legal? It's always a tricky one.
So what do you want to go up to?
85. Kind of splitting the difference.
Yeah, we can look at the run rate and like that and then
Mhm.
utilize the reserve fund.
I know what I was
We've
thinking.
always been, waiting on the reserve fund to see kind of where we stand with things, with how tight we things are anyways.
And I don't want to put that whole potential amount on the reserve fund, so I'm kind of coming
Well,
in
yes.
partway.
Mhm.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
Personnel, I'm actually proposing the personnel expenses should really be in town administrator dues because that is to belong to the MMHR, which is the Mass Municipal Human Resources Association, which is utilized by our office. So I am proposing just moving, rather than having accounting, having to keep tracking different departments for one bill. I'm also proposing moving your bill into our budget as well, so you don't have to worry about
So the
that.
personnel committee doesn't have a separate line here.
That's all they have is just the 250 for the dues.
Yeah, but.
It's more to track. I'm trying to consolidate.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm recommending just moving that 250 to the TA budget. And under dues, because we already have a dues line item. And then as we get down to FinCom, or did I go past it? Sorry, I went past it.
We're such big spenders.
I did the same for you. I took your $200 away. You're okay with that? You don't have to worry about paying the bill. Because I mean, obviously we can attend, you know, you guys are members of the finance committee. We get what is it called? The Association of Finance something. So they do offer trainings, but anybody can attend those as well as folks in our office.
Pay your dues.
As long as you pay your dues, select board can go, we can go, you can go.
I think the manuals now are online.
Yeah, DOR has done, that's what DOR did during COVID, or DLS. They created that huge municipal finance resource center with videos and very great explanations of the budget cycle, and
They do a good job at
they're
DLS.
really good job.
They're getting better.
And they did it mostly during COVID.
Yeah.
I was like, that was a really good use of COVID time.
I find their communications are always pretty helpful. I mean, some of them are not relevant at all to anything I'm concerned about, but they're helpful.
So that's legal personnel. And while we're at it, your reserve fund. We skipped over your reserve.
Yeah, the big money.
So
I saw
I
you did that.
initially put you in at 110 because I thought, let's go up on the reserve fund, and based on where we're trending, hopefully this year, and the need to allocate funding to other resources, I am recommending level funding. I like how I contradict myself throughout this whole thing, because there's a difference between a request and what you can actually afford. And that's why you're seeing the difference here. So I fight with myself in my head.
Those voices will get you every time.
They will get you every time. So in the ideal world, we would do 110. In the real world, we're gonna do 90 probably, would be my recommend. Just keep it the same as last year. And again, the advantage of having that fall town meeting, which given the amount of business we have, I foresee you having every year going forward. Should there be some big whack in the beginning of the fiscal year, you can make an adjustment to the reserve fund at fall town meeting. You don't have to wait till May. And let's see, so we did legal personnel, we did you guys. Town report, so here's where you'll see that money reflected. So it's only 1,500, not 48, and the reason is because the town newsletter is dead. So we took away that money and just added in the bit of the extra that we needed to make sure we can pay for the warrants out of this line item. We also buy a lot less hard copy town reports anymore, because when we came, there were boxes and boxes of ones that people weren't taking. So we reduced that down to about 125, maybe 150. We also have the hard copy online and a PDF. If for some reason, we run out of books, which we haven't so far, we could print one out for somebody.
Why is the town letter dead? Considering we had lots of discussion, this
Yeah,
probably much
the select
more
board
than
doesn't.
the dollar amount that was involved.
We have nobody to do it. Unfortunately, we had a senior worker who was doing it and helping us, and she retired, and it takes about 15 to 20 hours per month to put it out, which my assistant was doing, and it was pulling her away from other higher priority projects. We were also told it was history, not current news, so people weren't too thrilled about it. That was the feedback we got. So what we're going to try to do, we have a new website that's going to be debuting in the next couple of weeks. And we talked about putting like a projects page on the website where folks can go and get updates there. Also, we're putting a more prominent button for the town administrator reports, because the most current stuff goes in there, and I do those for every select board meeting. So pointing folks in that direction for town information rather than duplicating efforts and doing a newsletter that comes out 6 weeks after the news happens seems to make more sense. And so the select board did take a vote to cancel the newsletter. I understand the Council on Aging is going to pick it back up as a senior newsletter.
Yeah, Powder House News went out. And it is senior focused.
So it's back to that. And they were able to get a senior work-off person to assist with that. So
So do they have the money in their budget or how is
they
that?
do, actually, they have the expense money in their budget, in part because we have slowed on the transportation side of things, so their expense budget has been less. We had the van out of commission for quite some time, gas.
Yeah.
But they also are trying to do it the way we did it, which is they mailed out the first issue, but you need to sign up if you want to continue to receive it by mail. And they're gonna do hard copies like we did in certain places in town. 19 Carter Library, here in the lobby. That's how they're gonna save a lot on cost.
So they have to go online to continue to receive it by mail? Is that
No,
how
you
they
can
sign-
call the office
Okay.
and they'll sign you up. Yep, and I can tell you, we've been doing that for the past, when we did the town newsletter, we did it for almost a year. We had less than 20 people that signed up to have it mailed to them. And we advertised that over several issues in bold and yellow on the front before it transitioned to a town newsletter. Hey, if you want this, you need to let us know, call us, email us, come
Mhm.
online, fill out a form. We tried to do it every way possible, but Melissa, if somebody wants it and they're not getting it by mail, just call up Melissa in the Council on Aging and she'll get you signed up. Any other questions on communications and the town report budget? All right, so I have a lot of little ones, so I'm gonna skip down here to the fun parts like debt and interest, and actually Kathy's gonna do debt and interest, so I'll skip that. Intergovernmental expenses. We have an assessment every year we pay to the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. It's going up a whole $25 to $1,049. And I will tell you what we get in return for that $1,000 is huge. We get local planning technical assistance, DLTA funding, that the planning board uses every year for different projects. And that comes free of charge. I think it's about 15 to 20 hours a year that you get for like a specific project. And other assistance is needed, but all for a whole $1,000. So probably the best bang for your buck in town.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And then I have, I have Assabette's budget in here. I don't expect that's going to change, but Ernie is coming back, not next week, but the week after. I do have that and at the $667,240. And then I do have some good news. I got a preview of next week's Berlin Boylston budget. They have come down on capital pretty significantly. So what was an 11.4% increase is now at a 10.4% increase. And they do not expect these are the final numbers, but I am happy to see it has come down some. And they will be here to discuss it further next week.
One little PS, by the way, on the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. I don't know when or how exactly it happened, but I'm on their mailing list. And in the absence of a lot of local news, what's really interesting is that you get to hear about projects in the area, different towns' projects. So if something's going on in Sterling that CMR is working on, there'll be something in the newsletter about it.
It is a nice newsletter. You can go on their website and sign up for it, or Mary can forward you their email.
Well,
Call Mary.
yeah, it depends how much, I have too much email, so.
So don't call Mary. Go to
But
their website, sign up.
no,
it's a good
call me.
point. They send-
I'd rather talk to you than read emails, so you can call me. It's okay.
There you go. Call Mary.
But it was not expected sort of
It
side
is
benefit.
nice. Now that they have more staffing there, they've been doing that, like, it's bi-monthly or monthly, but it's been great. I've been reading it as well.
Yeah.
So then we get into our miscellaneous benefits and insurance. Worcester Regional Retirement really falls under the treasurer, but I'll give you the lovely preview of the fact that it's going up 10.1%, and we have no control over that. So that is an increase of $82,992. That is our pension system, and they just tell us what we pay.
So Kristen, is there any insight into, they got themselves all messed up for a bit with their investments and blah, blah, blah. Is there any insight into where that problem is now? If has it?
I've heard nothing recently. Have you, June?
Nothing.
Yeah, they do keep that information kind of under wraps, but we are seeing it annually reflected, I believe.
Well, that's
In
why
these
the
10%
increases have happened,
increases,
because,
correct.
Mhm.
whatever was handled with the money they had wasn't
There was
It
some
wasn't
type
in,
of
right?
investment gone bad is what I've heard. But again, that's all sort of grapevine.
Is it investment gone bad or just bad projections? I mean, many people, looks like the,
I'm not an
Yes.
like how
investment expert,
interest,
so.
interest rates stayed so low for so long and people use old numbers of your money will double and, assuming 8% returns and these things that never, that just year after year after year just never happened. They just sat on it and never, updated their actuary numbers.
Yeah.
And then one day, and people describe it as they went bad, but not necessarily they went bad. They just poorly projected.
I'm using the term loosely because I'm not an expert in investing,
Yeah.
but sure, it very well could be that.
I mean,
So-
the consequences like 20+ years of low interest rates. That,
They actually believed their own fantasy.
well, look at past history, right?
Fiduciary financial manager could hit 8%, come on.
And that's the money that goes into the pensions
Yes.
for the town employees.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, so that's our assessment. So the employees individually still pay into their individual retirement accounts through their taxes. This is what the town gets assessed,
So we're paying almost $1 million into
Yeah,
the fund.
because town employees don't. get security.
Right.
correct? So we have to pay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, this
So
is
it's kind
real.
of like what
Yeah.
a company
Very
would
much
pay
so.
as an employer tax.
Essentially, yes.
How, Social Security is 15%, the employee pays half, the employer pays the other half.
It's similarly
we-
structured.
Similar
Yep.
kind of,
Yeah.
Okay.
A little different is that they are promising certain levels of return, unlike most people at
Whereas the Social
401k,
Security
where
is
they're just
Social
playing in a
Security.
set dollar amount and whatever things don't go well or stuff like that, it's like you're still on your own.
Which is why
This one is,
everyone should work for the government and get a pension, because I'll tell you, if you're my age or younger, or maybe a little older, there is not going to be any social security by the time we retire. So come join the government. We have a pension.
Mhm.
That's what I tell people. And it's after 9, so see, I'm getting punchy.
It's story time.
It's story time. Workers' comp, we're just estimating a 5% increase there. That is now IOD and workers' comp that was rolled into the same line item last year, so not a big increase there. And great news on health insurance. I just got the call yesterday that it looks like we're going to be at 5.22% for our health insurance increase, which is huge, but that is a verbal, not in writing. So I am putting in 6 right now in
Mhm.
case that little percentage fluctuates. But if you recall, we started at 20,
Mhm.
and as the last meeting went, I went down to 10, and now we're down to 6. So that is excellent news. We're only talking at this rate a $46,000 increase in health insurance, which is huge. That's the good news. We'll get to the fact that unfortunately doesn't completely offset everything we have going on, but that's a huge help. That closes the gap, helps close the gap some. And then the other one that I manage is the property liability insurance, which also is a 5% estimated increase. Have I bored you to death now?
Funded last year.
It was, so we signed on for 2 years. 1 year was level funded. The second year was supposed to go up no more than 2%, and they did not offer us that deal for this year. Or this upcoming rather year, but yes, we had 1 year with no increase and 1 year with a 2% increase. So we've done really, really well. Any questions on anything?
so many questions there. Do we want to cover historical in their absence?
Sure, we can do that. I believe it's level funded at, don't quote me, I'm gonna check.
It'll be
'cause
quick.
It will be very quick. Historical. Let's see. Did I go past them? Oh, there's 6. Oh, because culture and recreation. Yes, thank you. I'm always thinking of them as general and they're not. Yes, so historic has asked for a whopping $615 again this year.
Spencer's.
So,
Right.
yeah, we give June the night off because it's not really anything to go with there.
Yeah. I think we
I can't really complain about that.
No.
And cultural council would like to come before you. They asked and they will. They did put in a request for just 1,500, but I believe they have some future plans that they would like to discuss with the FinCom. All right. I
Mary,
want to
did
go.
you make any progress with the recreation committee?
No.
No, okay.
I got it though, I'm not. Yes,
So this is your overall picture of where we are at right now. Oh. Bigger. Sheena, this is in the Google Drive as well for you. This is the FY 27 budget draft dated today. And unfortunately, low growth, I checked in on earlier this week. We're still at 150 per the assessor. And the bad news is we need to go up on overlay by about 100,000. So that has an impact there based on ATV cases that are going on. State aid, bad news, going down.
Surprise.
So UGA, the unrestricted aid, is actually going up by 7,000. However, they cut the benefits, the veterans
Mhm.
benefits, and the assessments are actually higher on the backside of the cherry sheet.
Yep.
So the overall net is a
So
decrease of, did I put the amount in there? Oh, I did on this page. Hold on. It's like $3,000. I think that it's going down. $3,007 state aid is actually going down by, which is 0.85%. Although they did, and so this is not a lie, if they say we increased unrestricted aid, they did by 2.49%. However, when you take it off the backside, then you lose. So,
I think the schools had a similar situation.
yeah, so you'll see if you look at, I'll make this a little bit bigger. The exemptions for veterans and blind, and elderly went down from 29,664 to 27,25. So that's a decrease of almost $9,000. Unrestricted government aid went up, as I mentioned, by that $6,000. Library also went up as well, which comes off the backside because that's just a pass through. So if you look at our obligations, which are what they call the backside of the cherry sheet, the $82.99 goes to the library. The state charges, which include primarily that mosquito control, are $328 more than last year. So when you factor all that in the wash, we're a losing, unfortunately. And as you can see, we did 248,000 in overlay in 26, and the assessor, I had that at 200. She informed me earlier this week we need to go to 3. So my budget wasn't looking so bad, it's looking worse now. So we'll go back to this page.
Is that, we're at 208,000, is that because of more from the mall?
ATV cases, just appellate tax based
Just-
cases. No, and the mall is not going to hit till 28. And that's going to be a huge problem. I can't predict right now where, and as you mentioned, the split between, Marlboro, Berlin, it's
Yeah,
hard to
it's-
figure it
Yeah,
out.
it's like the reporting is not great on
Right.
it, so.
But if we have our assessed value for Berlin at 24 million, I think we're at, and it's sold the whole thing for 8.5 million, they
That's what
are.
I'm trying to figure out, like the whole thing was, or just that portion of it, and that they're breaking it apart
It's the
when the reporting. is
non-anchor
done.
store portion.
Right, I
and-
understand that piece,
Oh,
but the
with the
reporting,
8.5?
the reporting is so bad that
Gotcha.
it's hard to tell. I mean, I guess you can eventually go up and see what it looks like on Mass Land Records once it gets posted there.
Yeah. It's gonna be tough to see how that all filters out, but.
'Cause I'm not sure how that looks up there when you have buildings that are physically in two different towns. I mean, it's not a
It's
common thing, right?
Strange. It is not common, but it's very smart. I give the founders, I think Tim Wheeler deserves a big pat on the back for that with Highland Commons and with the mall, with Salmon Pond, because not often do towns that don't have water sewer have the opportunity to bring in large scale development. So by partnering with an adjacent community, it's genius.
Can you just restate, so unrestricted aid went up,
Oh, yeah. I'll go
but
back.
what went down to offset that?
Unrestricted aid went up, but our exemptions for veterans, blind, and the elderly went down by about 9,000. So those are the two big offsets. So you went up by 6 and change on the unrestricted, but you went down by 9,000 on the exemptions,
And both of those are state.
state aid. Yep. So overall, state aid went from 288,718 in 26. Right now with the governor's budget, 266,264. And that's what we budget off of because it still has to obviously go through the House and Senate, but that's later on in the process. So we budget off of the governor's numbers. Unless they come out early, but you know, they're on their own bureaucratic process, so I don't think that's going to happen. That would be wishful thinking.
I think it's a challenging.
It is. Local receipts, there is some good news. I did pick up 105,500 in local receipts. I'm pushing it. June's gonna scream, but I am pushing it this year because we need it badly. So the areas that, as you can see here, that mainly went up at motor vehicle excise, meals tax, a little bit on hotel, and then a little bit on building permits, because we've been pretty conservative with estimating our building permits. And now these are not from large scale projects. These are
Mhm.
additions, renovations, pools, decks, those kind of things. It's coming a little healthier than we anticipated. So the building inspector was comfortable, or commissioner rather, was comfortable with me picking up about 12 grand there. I'll take it. Take any money I can. And then receipts reserved for appropriation. We're gonna talk, I want to have Chief McQuillan back in because he has asked for $30,000 for the call and part-time budget, but he has the revenue and ambulance receipts to offset it. So there is no net impact to the budget, but I wanted him to be able to explain that to you in case you had specific questions. So the proposal is to up ambulance receipts from 125 to 175. And then
And
cemetery
he's
receipts are down.
anticipating that that's gonna work.
He is,
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Mhm.
As long as
because he's
we
bringing
have-
in full-time staffer. Oh, he's,
we
yeah,
have to Physically have that one
Yep.
though before we.
and
see
the,
them.
I don't know the exact balance right now, but it's somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000.
Money
The
has
last
to
time
come
I
in
looked.
before it goes out.
For this one, yeah, you
Yeah.
can't.
Yep.
Okay.
use anticipate revenue.
But we've been bringing in a healthy amount every year. I would say 300,000 is a conservative estimate of what we're bringing in.
So column Q is budget,
Column Q is 26
budget.
budget. Yep, and the
Not-
final budget and then proposed.
Yeah, right, but it's not an actual number. It's not where we sit today.
Oh, no, that's how much we put in the budget to offset ambulance costs. That's not how much we bring in. That one gets a little more complicated in terms of what we bring in billing and all of the
I can
things.
understand.
It looks like even recently, there's been a lot of mutual aid calls as well, because our surrounding towns are so busy
Yep.
as well.
That's why I actually think we're really going to benefit not only on a service level, but it's also going to be a financial gain to go to ALS.
Mhm,
It's kind of a win-win.
mhm.
And then you'll see what we've got in there, at least for right now, for free cash for BMS and Tohoto. It's a reduction of 63,000 from FY 26. So happy to take that. And level funding the public safety stabilization fund at 262, which we use to pay the cost of the lowest paid full-time police officer positions out of the mitigation funding every year. Which again, I tried to wean us off of and didn't work, but I'm thinking we need to stick with that this year, and I'll show you why in just a minute. Those are our offsets, as we talked about, the backside of the cherry sheet.
This is still for three. Thing.
3 still. Yep. We've had some significant turnover in the department, and we've brought in newer officers that have less experience at a lower rate. So I'm comfortable staying with that same number for FY 27. Debt service, Tohoto, 557,333, and Highway Barn, 274,075. Those are our, that's our debt service annual payments. There's really no negotiating there. So those are your revenues and offsets, which lead you up to the big roll-up page here of a proposed budget. Excuse me. My proposed budget is 19,347,132. Unfortunately, that does put us at 522,949 right now. We have it in excess levy. I am recommending that we spend most, if not all of that, depending on where we come in with the schools, because I have shaved where I can. And I will show you this.
Mhm.
This is my little spreadsheet I put together for my recommended increases and recommended cuts. So as you'll see, I'm recommending $120,000, $150 in increases, and that's the 58,005 for the TA office reorg. $30,000 for a part-time payroll benefits coordinator that we haven't talked about, but the treasurer collector will be coming to speak of that. 16,000 for the police lieutenant. And the 15,650 needed to up the youth services librarian from 18 to 30 hours. So I took a very hard look at budgets, and I am able to offset that by about $125,000. So the net, and a couple of them were small, cuts looking at expense trends over the years. I am recommending at this time level funding rec expenses and removing the part-time position. I looked at cemetery wages, cemetery expenses, they've gone down. I am recommending that the transfer station funding, as you probably saw, comes out of the revolving fund as opposed to taking a $25,000 hit to the operating budget. There was an increase of $150 for the plumbing gas inspector, but the spend out doesn't justify that. Little bit of increase we can take on the building inspector expenses and the salary, as we are going to a 25 to 30 hour per week position or regional, which the board has not yet decided on, but either way, I can still cut that budget back significantly, which is great. Proposing taking a $3,000 hit to data systems. Oh, we didn't talk about data systems. But that has been level funded at 95,000 was the FY26 budget. I initially level funded it and I went back and took a hard look. We'll have less money for computers, but I think we can shave $3,000 off of there. Also, I know Kathy was hoping for more in tax title. I think we need to start with where we're at, which is 7,500, and then go from there. The $15,000 off of legal, as I mentioned.
Well, 15,000 off of
The
bigger
request.
increase, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, these are off of the requested amounts.
Yes.
So this is the cut between the budget request and my budget recommendation. I shaved a little bit off of assessor expenses and a little, sorry, June, $206 off of your expenses. I know, I'm a terrible, horrible human being.
You'll have to stop going out to lunch once a week, Jim.
Exactly.
So, and what I did was I looked at those 10-year Vadar printouts that you provided us with. And yeah. So unfortunately, even with the offset that I did here, that still leaves us at 522,949 that would need to come out of excess levy. And we have $992,994 in excess levy. So if we fully funded this and the school budget remains the same, that would still leave us with 320,000 in excess levy.
So what is the 2.5% increase? That's right there is 404,000
Yep.
is what 2.5% represents. So that makes if you didn't decrease the other one, what would the total percentage be? 5 over
I did
5,
decrease
obviously.
what?
Well, if 404,000 represents a 2.5% increase in the levy.
Yep.
Oh, this is the levy.
This is levy. Yep, so this is the levy limit, so we can.
And
go
so
2.5 over.
another 500 and go back with sort of, let me see, 404, 242.
It's going to more than double it.
Right, so the 404, 242 is 2.5. And then this is what, 522,949. Where's the calculator? Drum roll.
I don't know what math you're doing, but
I just,
You'll explain it. We'll get to that.
927, blah, blah, blah,
like
27 something.
522, 949.
and remember, it's always estimates that go to town meeting. When it actually shakes out on the recap sheet, it can adjust a little bit,
Right.
so.
And that come out right there with that.
So I'm looking at a summary for March 24, and so that excess levy capacity is dropping.
It is.
We
And
were
I
at, we were
believe-
at 1.6 million those 2 years. in
It
that
sure
year,
is.
so
Actually, I can-
23, or 24, 25.
If I undo this a little, I'll show you. Yep, we were at 1.247 in
And that was down from
25,
1.6.
down from 24, which was. There's actual and budget in
Unless
here,
that-
so don't confuse me, 1.6 and 24.
Yeah.
Yep. So the problem is, and again, fully understanding, we don't want to hit taxpayers, but we have taxed it below the levy for an extended period of time. And there are needs that I genuinely believe need to be met. And what I asked the boards and committees and departments to do was to put in what they really thought their needs were. I also did the 5-year outlook, so it wasn't like, don't put everything in an FY 27, just really put in FY 27 what your bottom line basic need is. I think that it is a bit difficult to run a town when you're constantly offsetting school expenses by cutting town expenses. So obviously, this is my recommendation to you. I'm leaving. You have a lot of work to do. I'm very sorry. I'm taking it and I'm running away.
No, because my comment about the decrease is really isn't a comment about this year's proposed numbers. It's a comment that we do want to see that going down slowly.
Slowly, correct,
Slowly.
incrementally. And most
Yes.
towns are in override land and we are not there yet.
And,
Yeah.
right, so,
But
you
it's
know, it
coming up
shows,
It's
a-
coming because it's everywhere though.
it shows a history of fiscal responsibility, which I
It
like
does.
very much. However, now that I've seen people that, their eyes are on the cookie jar and they just want to eat all the cookies, I'm like, maybe we should make the cookie jar less attractive.
Well, and also, no one ever wants to pay more in taxes. I completely understand that. I pay
Well-
$4,800 in Marlboro, which I think is super cheap, and I'm like, well, actually, like, why don't they charge more? Because that's my crazy town manager, administrator brain that goes there, because I'm like, that's why Route 20 is full of potholes and terrible. But
You should have seen the property tax in Chatham.
I can't even imagine.
It was low,
Oh, it was low?
very low. And you know why?
Seasonal.
Only a
Well, because
quarter of the
seasonal.
residents, only a quarter of the
Took me a minute
residents
there.
are there year round, and
You get seasonal.
there aren't that many school-aged children.
Mhm.
And boom, there you go. You've got your public
Amazing.
safety costs and your school costs. It was crazy how inexpensive the real estate tax was in Chatham.
I can,
My friends who live year round on my husband.
Yes,
and they have
yes.
because you have rich vacation.
And I had gone there from New Jersey, and New Jersey was crazy expensive in real estate tax. So it's
It's a weird.
it's a weird thing, but I think,
juxtaposition.
Yeah.
I think the intent with the 2.5 and with what I'm saying is to make these changes happen slowly. So people can adapt
Right. because
more
we-
easily.
We are going to need those funds, and I think that you still have at least 2 years of excess levy capacity, depending on how this all plays out, before you're even talking override. Because if you make
Yeah.
these adjustments this year, that's a jump, but you're not gonna have to tap into excess levy for them next year.
Well,
So,
Again, as you have said, we leave this to the voters.
absolutely.
Ultimately, but
Mhm.
I guess we as a committee need to think about that 522,
You do.
949 and whether we like it.
And that's why I'm pointing it out. And then, I don't want to go through all this because it's late, but you can see my full recommended budget is in the drive, and it does show the percent change and the dollar change. And there are some notes, if you go all the way over, that I've noted, for a little additional information if you have questions on some of those. And so I would recommend you independently take a look at the detail budget recommendation. And then when I'm back in 2 weeks, we can answer questions. And then you will have Jeff. I'm sorry. I don't mean to seem like I'm like, oh, I'm running away. But no, I mean, in all honesty, I wanted to make sure at least my recommendation was done and was discussed because before I left, I didn't want to dump that,
Mhm.
work in the lap of somebody who's just coming in that doesn't understand the context of where we're at. So obviously there's still work to do. I think, like I said, you're in very good hands. There's just some decisions that need to be made,
Mhm.
but this is my recommation.
So Kristen, you're on vacation
I am next week. I do
Next
have my
week.
stepson,
and then you're back
the last week of February.
last week of February, okay.
I will miss these meetings fondly because you let me get
You're gonna
punchy
miss
after
us.
9 AM. I mean, 9 PM. See, I don't even know
See,
what
there
time
you
it is.
go.
You let me get punchy and you don't get mad at me. So,
Groundhog's Day, you're starting your day early. You're
but that's all I had for you this
do it
evening.
over.
Okay.
Yeah, the number I was just calculating was that right now it would represent a 5.8%.
Thank you, Scott. I knew you were going.
I thought that's where you were going, but yeah, I was
Um,
like, please don't ask me because I may not follow your math.
I knew that was where you're
The
going.
problem is my calculator kept hitting, missing a number every time and
That's that.
Yeah, we want to keep an eye on that, right?
Yes. You do. So. And I will tell you, you can go in here and you can see the historic data, as you mentioned, those columns are just hidden so that I can
Oh,
display it.
okay.
But yeah, so if you see it goes from
Yeah,
A
yeah,
to
yeah.
S, you can go back and see Margaret started this in 21, I think or 20, whichever her first budget was, it goes all the way back. I was missing
19.
some data from the very early years.
Yeah.
Well, she came in 19. I don't think she did the 19 budget.
Maybe
I
not.
don't know, but it's all in there if you
Oh, sorry,
unhide.
sorry, because I was thinking COVID, but she was here the year before COVID, but that was the 20 budget.
Exactly.
Yes.
But even within revenue, same thing, you go from A to Q and same with expenditures. So if you just unhide those columns, you can go
Uh-huh.
back and see historic data, because I just took her spreadsheet and continued
That's
to build
helpful,
on it.
yeah.
Any other questions for me?
one is, have you had any communication with the town administrator in Boylston? Have they indicated where they stand based on the preliminary numbers they're getting from Boylston? Or
Not
from the schools?
Not since the December 9th budget meeting.
Okay.
So I assume they're gonna have their own Berlin-Boylston budget presentation, but I have not heard from Howard or April as to where they're at yet. I don't think they've received their updated presentation yet, but I could be wrong. Because I just got a week early preview.
They build the budget differently in Boylston, so I don't, I think that's probably accurate.
Yeah, because when we went to that school committee meeting,
Yeah, they said, here's the
they said
800
this is
and you
how
get
much
4.
we have, work with it.
Correct.
Well,
They can still ask for more than that.
Right.
had they worked with it, I guess that's the question I would want to know.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to look at what you circulated, Scott, so. I had a busy day.
Yeah, I don't know how they put it out too. It was taking forever to print this thing. There's a PDF and I don't know what, it must be came out with such a resolution that half of it is left on the printer. I couldn't wait for it. So expect that when if you try to print this thing out, there's
May not be
something
final.
large. All right, anything else?
Not for me, Scott. Motion to adjourn.
All right, I second that. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye,
We got Sheena.
yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey,
Thank you.
Sheena.
Good night.
Thank you, Sheena.
We'll see
Hope you
you.
feel
Thank
better.
you. Thank you. And you got
Yes.
my note about next week. I'll be on vacation.
Yep, we
Yes.
got that
Okay.
message.
You're on
Thank
the-
you.
okay.
All right. See you.
Feel better, Sheena.